Welcome back to Lemonade Stand, everybody.
LS, baby.
I had a dream this weekend, and Doug, I want you to tell me if this is believable.
Okay.
In the dream, Atrioc accidentally bought a mansion.
Okay.
Because he missed all of the appointments to see the house in person.
Yeah.
And he accidentally bought a house
How
that
does
was
that work?
too big.
I missed the appointment, so by default, I own the mansion.
That's how,
Apparently.
it's like the Twitter deal. Yeah.
And then I show up to come over to his new house for the first time.
Yeah.
And he's mad at me and says that I have to, him and Ari both say that I have to move in to split the mortgage with them because he missed all the appointments that would have told him the house is too big, the house is too expensive.
This is your dream, and yet the tone of your voice and the way you told this to me over Discord is that I'm at fault for an action that didn't happen.
You're being an asshole.
I'm going to be honest, this sounds like you. In China, as I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast.
This is ridiculous.
All of us were trying to use the Chinese apps, but it's impossible because you have a phone number. Constantly things are popping up all the time. Every app does their own thing. Sure. And Brandon was the only one who was able to order or use the apps because he has the power to just click through things at this unbelievable rate with a level of confidence that is baffling. And I can imagine this same sort of thing happening.
That's because I signed away all my rights to Xi Jinping for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
I clicked every button.
And apparently that same willpower allowed you to accidentally buy a
mansion
home.
in Beijing that we
And this leads into our main topic today. Should adult children be able to use social media?
Yes, adults, children, or adult man children. Social media, that's the ban on the menu today because Britain has joined a number of countries from around the world in completely banning social media for children under 16.
And that is the only piece of news from Britain this week.
Well, it's funny because you're joking, but because they don't follow Britain politics, right after announcing this, Keir Starmer then stepped down, the Prime Minister of the UK. It was his last act basically out the door. He's like, no social media for kids under 16, and I'm out.
It's like Kobe's final game. He scores 70.
He scores. Yeah, Keir Starmer's truly the Bam Adebayo of records.
No one said that before this podcast.
Yeah, LS, we break ground. We say things no one else will say. So I mean that's the big story. We can go into the details of it, but it does. It's a point in a larger trend. This is not the first country to do this. It's one of many, and it is one of the more extreme bans so far. So this is one of the first ones to include YouTube and a few other platforms are completely banned in this Britain under 16 thing. It doesn't go into effect until 2027, so there will be a last gasp. But it does follow a Australia ban from 6 months ago that was supposed to be the test case. We talked about Australia ban on the show.
Let's talk about it happening. Yeah,
talk about it happening. So it's been 6 months. Here's the follow up. Much like the ban on video games in China we talked about. Most people who were already using social media, teens or otherwise, have continued to use it. They use VPNs. They fake the age verification system. They keep going. However,
are you telling me that when they say, what is your birthday?
Yeah.
They don't put in the right number instead of scrolling to the bottom and there are thousands upon thousands of 108
to give them credit, they have to go a little further than that to circumvent these bans.
Yeah.
But the initial implementation of the Australian one was not super effective. Like the first week it's rolling out. And I was watching this news piece where they're interviewing a bunch of kids between the age of, I think 11 and 15, and just asking them how this is going. You know, did you get kicked off these apps? For some people, their accounts didn't even get flagged initially. So they just kept using the apps like normal.
You look old for a 17.
And then for others, they did lose access. But there's things like verifying your face as an indicator of how old you are. But there's reports of kids finding ways to draw facial hair on themselves in order to surpass the age filter. Or in Australia, the week that this ban was implemented, the number one apps on the Australian App Store were all ways of circumventing the ban. Or more niche social media sites that didn't get caught in the ban in the first place, which was a concern in itself because if you're ostracizing children to platforms that are more niche, less familiar, less regulated, you're potentially putting them in an even worse spot them before.
Bunch of kids off of Instagram and put them on 4chan. You're like,
you've saved them.
You haven't saved them. But here's the thing. The Australia ban, 6 months on, is unanimously popular with parents. It got like a 9 out of 10, 90% approval score within a YouGov poll. People are feeling like it's the right direction. And here's what I'll say. It seems like if you were already using social media, this has done very little to dissuade you. But it has seemingly done something for kids that were turning 10 or 11 or after the ban. Like they are less likely to start. It is less likely to get. So the way they're defending it now is saying that it's a longer term play to almost save the next generation.
Right, we have a lost generation.
Yeah, these kids are
corrupted by Instagram.
I think the New York Times was doing a breakdown on this of parent sentiment basically. And it was talking about the frustrations of how this isn't as relieving for parents of children in this primary age group right now. Like, not that they're unhappy with the ban, but that the ban isn't, getting their kids to turn on a dime and basically stop smoking. But the hope is that okay, my kid who's 8 this is going to be the difference in them getting hooked or not.
Yeah.
And I think there was a feeling among parents in the article about how they still feel like they're the villain. It made me think about growing up where my parents were really strict with this stuff, like whether it be social media, even using the internet in general, playing video games. And I often felt as one of the kids at school, the main reason it sucked so bad was watching all of my friends at school or the other kids talk about things that I didn't get to do. Like they're talking about, the coolest thing that just happened on Call of Duty this weekend. And I couldn't play an M-rated video game. And I will add you and let's talk on Facebook or MySpace. I wasn't allowed to have those accounts. And that was the reason that I was so frustrated at my parents at that age, because it's you're preventing me from participating in this social culture of, everything that would allow me to feel included at school. And then my parents, there's this whole dynamic between me and my parents, arguing and going back and forth about and they become the enemy. And it's basically a bunch of parents hoping they don't have to feel like that anymore. No parent wants
to constantly be in this fight with their kid. Yeah.
But, and the hope is 6 months in, hopefully this helps fix that dynamic or relationship between me and my 13-year-old, because I don't want to take away the thing that makes them feel, included at school. But it's just not working in that regard.
Yeah, a lot of examples of parents saying, if they follow the rule closely and their kid doesn't have it, the kid will say, well, my friends have Snapchat and they're still using it and I don't have it and I'm isolated. So yeah, it hasn't done a ton for kids already hooked on it, to be honest. That's the breakdown. But it seems like a really intractable problem. And UK has said, we're not going to wait. Because the truth is, the reason this is all pushed across, we should talk about the downsides as well, but the reason it's pushed across is because there's a lot of strong evidence that it reduces school outcomes, increases bullying, increases teen depression, all the things that have been we known about for social media.
Dude, I looked at this, so there's a study by Ofcom in the UK, which is obviously relevant to this new ban coming out. And not only are 33% of 5 to 7-year-olds have their own social media account in 2022. And then by age 12 to 15, 90% of them have it. But 84% of kids aged 8 through 17 said they've been bullied online. And then the majority of 12 to 17-year-olds are confident that they can tell what is real and fake online, but only 11% of them correctly could identify what was relevant. So you have a bunch of extremely online. This is from 2022, by the way, so it's a couple years ago. But
how many of those bullied, what'd you say, 8 to 12-year-olds?
No, that's 8 to 17. So basically anybally online has been bullied.
Do you think how much is that slime? Do you think if we got rid of slime, they would be reducing that number by
would dramatically
12,
change the study. It dramatically
That's what they talk about. There's a small percentage of society that...
It's just he's constantly...
If you control for Slime's Twitter account, it's actually way...
The UK is backwards. You need to target individuals.
So wait, okay. That's a joke, but the UK, so people that are pushing back against this, most of them do not dispute that there's clearly a problem. Clearly... The numbers on teen depression and educational outcomes are all in a downward slide in a bad direction. But what they say is, what if instead of trying to do this blanket ban on all platforms or picking platforms, what if we banned the parts of the apps that are addictive? Basically, the infinite scroll. If we attacked infinite scroll, then you could allow people to have TikTok or YouTube or Twitter or whatever. But
what if they could all they only had a set time during the day to all scroll at the same time?
Eventually, the world will catch up to what I said a year ago on this podcast. But until then, I will just smugly smile because I know the infinite scroll is the future that we're going to get to. We have to do everything wrong.
Everything wrong.
We should recap. The
infinite
infinite scroll, which is a strange name to pick, is the idea that everybody can
daily
use.
Scroll, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, daily scroll. Is for 1 hour a day, everybody can use it.
It'd be so beast.
Is there any, what is the progress there? Because when I think about something getting banned like YouTube, I feel like there's a kind of an argument for, I wouldn't mind a younger person being able to browse things on YouTube if you like gut shorts from the feed, change how it like feeds you content. Like, so is
the progress is zero. I mean, the platforms won't go for it. And even if you were to make that ban, I think they could run circles around you. I mean, like YouTube, you tell them they can't do infinite scroll, they will do 999,000. You know, they'll find they're just so good at that. It would be very, very difficult to win that war, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, a government that has even more ability to control its corporations and citizens is, example, China. And China's on this list as a country that has tried social media bans and internet regulation. And we were there, man. And the truth is, they have had very little success actually banning video games or social media for young people. They're all scrolling on it. And so it
became a meme that I asked every single person that we met if they know kids who are playing video games. And they're all like, yes, the kids still play video games, even though it's supposed to be like 1 hour a week.
Or when we talk to actual kids, we just ask them, like, do you and your friends, like, how does this work with how you circumvent this? And he's like, yeah.
They almost laughed at it. Like the idea that we even thought it was real it was funny. So
I think the other thing that came up a lot is that that story or idea that was going around for a while that young people in China are getting fed like more productive things on their version of TikTok, like educational content. And everybody there was like, dude, no, it's brain rotted as hell.
Yeah, it's
the
rotted.
same thing.
AI Trump.
So yeah, there's like a lot of AI like Trump and
both of us, like, we're doing the Predator meme shake of like AI slop about American politics. Both countries are deeply united.
I think something that couples pretty well with this is a larger pushback by parents that I've been seeing in the US at the least to screen time in schools in general. Like parents being unhappy with the integration of things like tablets or computers into how kids are educated. I think there's especially since COVID, because of digital learning, like came to prominence in such a way through that time period.
Yeah.
A bunch of school districts around the country signed these massive contracts with tech ed companies to integrate like technology into our education process across our district to modernize the way we educate our kids. And the amount of screen time that was climbing in schools post-COVID was going up and up and up until like 23 to 2024 school year. And now in certain areas of the country, that's falling because parents have been pushing back against it so much. And there's a reaction of parents seeing the decline in like their kids' cognition or a rise in something like their anxiety, and they're tying the devices that they see their kids required to use at school to those outcomes. And I thought it was pretty crazy. In this one article I was reading, it was parents just sharing an anecdotal story about how their kid has to bring like a Chromebook home, and the kid just keeps playing Balatro on the Chromebook. and then after that, the same father and other parents said they have discovered playing on devices 5 Nights at Epstein's, in which players try to escape Jeffrey Epstein's island. And
and wait, sorry, that was part of the coursework?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like
civics.
They put that straight in 7th grade requirement.
You gotta 5 Nights at Epstein's.
But I think that's actually a story I want to dig into more another time, is like the scale at which these like tech ed contracts were like being sold throughout this time period. But I think there is a collective reaction from parents now, whether it be like because of phones, social media, or this integration of screens into learning, where people are like, I want papers and pen back. I don't want like AI involved. I don't want this level of cheating. I want my kid to actually be able to focus and learn something. So there's like a tide shift in how all of this stuff is rolling out.
No, totally. Everything that I've seen with regards to reducing phones and screens at school has been successful. I think Sweden actually did it. Some Nordic countries did it.
Nordic fun fact.
Nordic fun fact of the week. Some countries in the Northeast did it. America, it's just so far from what I've seen. I haven't seen evidence that it hasn't worked because people. It just makes sense. It just makes logical sense that you would pay attention less, you would cheat more. I would do that as a kid. In fact, I remember the one class where we had a computer all the times was typing class, and nobody did any. You just played games. That's the whole time.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was sick. I really enjoyed it. But like, if it was every class, I would do that every time. So yeah, I don't know. That seems pretty likely.
Yeah, you and I dodged the
worst of it.
Basically the worst of it. Like when we were entering high school, it was like MySpace was starting to take off. And then as we were exiting high school, Facebook was starting to take off, but there wasn't really like algorithmic content. It was like your friend's feed, and so we just didn't experience that. And we turned out great.
Horrible, but I mean, you have to go even further back to find anyone.
Yeah, and I was left scarred and disheveled.
Yeah, you turned out terrible. Not your parents banned you. You're like what happens when you raise someone in the woods on Mario Kart Wii. But I remember even you had TI-84 with Block Dude on it.
Yeah, we took what we could get.
Anything I could get,
everybody will take everything they can get.
So if you gave me Five Nights at Epstein's, I'm not paying attention at all.
Yeah. Even right now when my computer's not working.
You're playing Five Nights at Epstein's.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Barry, pull
up Five Nights at Epstein's.
Well, what's going on in America? Because in Florida, I believe we had our own attack.
So I didn't realize this until looking into this. So, UK and Australia have done this. UK just did this big nationwide ban. We, America, kind of have been implementing these bans. There are 19 states that are in the process or attempting to do bans of different kinds, but they're all like patchwork and different and having different legal troubles. So what is already the case is that the big social media companies, at least in America, I imagine it's different for countries. It's supposed to be 13 plus. Like you're supposed to be banned from social media below that. But then of course, like anybody can go get one. And again, on the UK thing that I looked at, like 60% of 8 to 11-year-olds have their own social media account. It's like the majority of 8-year-olds have it anyways. And so there's all these different laws. Here's some notable examples that I thought were interesting. Colorado and Minnesota, they're requiring a warning label that pops up about the impact of mental health. Like it's
so
cigarettes.
Useless.
It's like, dude.
What does that do to?
I had this.
Problem solved.
I was thinking about this.
And they've said it's worked. And Minnesota's cured.
How has that worked?
It's like it's like how in California, how anything that could potentially cause cancer has to be labeled. And I walked into a restaurant yesterday where at the bar they had labeled that like spirits and wine can like potentially cause cancer. And I was like, who is that fucking for?
They put it on everything so nothing means anything.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
Like,
and I imagine this would be the same thing, but they're claiming it works.
No, they're not claiming it works. I'm saying,
my bad.
these are no. I'm sorry. Like what I'm trying to paint the picture of is the U.S. is in this chaotic state of many people trying many different things.
Yeah.
So this is what Colorado and Minnesota have tried. Utah is like you have to have your parents' consent to sign in, and that you need their explicit permission to use social media from 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. So there's like time gating in some states.
Interesting.
It's getting dangerously close.
Yeah. Interesting.
Arkansas and Ohio tried to ban it, but it was blocked. So a bunch of these have been blocked by judges because the First Amendment is like the big counter to this because, many people feel like people under the age of 18 do have rights. And then California and New York.
That's crazy.
Pass laws.
Viewers, then they're all right.
California and New York are trying to go for the addictive feeds of minors, but then that's being legally challenged. I mean, there's some interesting questions here about the rights of people, because that's essentially the big counter argument. But then in Florida. So Florida passed a law in 2024 that if you're under 14, you can't have an account. 15 to 16 requires parental permission. So like on the stricter side, kind of. And then the social media accounts, like companies have to delete the account, so they get $50,000 per violation. So there's like a big monetary punishment. And there were some legal challenges. Eventually it started in February of this year. So now Florida sued TikTok's ass and saying, you guys are allowing underage access. You guys are misrepresenting the amount of violence or sexual content you can be exposed to. And then, Perry, if you pull this up, again, the law states 13 and under is banned. TikTok on their page says 13 plus, like, come on in. And so Florida is like, no, you can't do that. We have a law that says you're not allowed.
Okay, but we had a law that legally banned TikTok in America, and we all said, eh.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
If TikTok has learned not to care about our laws, I guess I don't blame them.
Yeah. So what's interesting is Florida seems to be like aggressively going after social media companies in a way that other states kind of aren't. They sued Snapchat in 2025 and said they're legally opening accounts and whatnot. So they're going for like a lot of monetary damages and trying to put serious pressure on the social media companies. And I think that's like a pretty interesting turn if states start to actually throw a lot of lawsuits.
It's funny because Florida's in such a budget deficit. It just sounds like they're trying to shake down TikTok for some cash.
And that's kind of was China's approach when we were talking to people there, right? Like the law around expression on social media apps is kind of it's intentionally vague, so that speech can be moderated in a way to the government's choosing there, right?
Sure.
But they put all the pressure on the companies to enforce it rather than themselves, and basically say the companies will face really high consequences if you do not like service the law appropriately. And then that incentivized the crackdown on the company's end, and where like they don't want to let anything slip through because of how dire the consequences are.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be monetary or like, you know, somebody being arrested or removed from their position. I'm not saying that strategy should be adopted. That was just the way they went about it. It's like, okay, we're not going to like create this massive government employment program to like moderate these companies and then submit the request to social media companies. It's like, no, you, the company, are responsible for dealing with this. And it's like, if you don't deal with it in a way that we deem adequate, then you will face the consequences.
We'll find you.
Which follows up to like kind of what's happening alongside these laws. What is America really good at, if nothing else?
Freedom.
I was going to say that.
Freedom to... We've read lots of books about this.
Freedom to buy a house that you never toured.
Yes, that's true.
You have the freedom to do that.
Freedom to, as
Freedom
long as
to
the friend
force your
shows
friend
up.
to split it with you.
Freedom to force your friend to split it with you. Freedom to shoot guns.
Shoot guns pretty
Yeah.
well.
Sorry, I feel like you had an answer.
Could we shoot the social media in some way?
What if we fight? Because I heard they have the media in the cloud. What if we fire
What if
our guns into the air?
We all fired our guns up at the same time.
Do we shoot TikTok down?
TikTok's cloud could not survive.
Right. No,
this actually is a pretty good.
They're being sued to shit right now. So
suing them. Yes, that's one of our.
That's one of our things. They're suing them with a gun. So
I have a funny. Yeah, okay.
So TikTok is being sued right now, not only by Florida, but by 14 state attorney generals simultaneously. There's a bipartisan coalition that is saying they're misleading the public about the safety of their platform and harming young people's mental health. It changes per state, but like Massachusetts is like, you're a public nuisance. New York is saying you're false advertising. And so apparently there's 1,000 similar lawsuits pending. And this is in follow-up to, if you guys remember earlier last year, there was a big Meta lawsuit where this woman who was 20 won a lawsuit for millions of dollars that said, Meta, you harmed my mental health. And so there is this big trend where states are starting to do these massive quantities of lawsuits against the social media company saying, you have harmed me, on top of these bans. They seem like they're kind of a little fucked.
This is exactly what happened with vape companies. What was the big vape company when it was first? And the vape, everybody. Juul. This is what happened to Juul.
Yeah.
Juul, like literally 38 states or whatever, parents in all of them got angry enough that there was lawsuits across the country, and it just kind of imploded their ability to sell and do the way they done before. And I mean, they dumped their stock to Marlboro or something, but yeah.
I just don't get how a company like TikTok is going to survive, which is already tenuous in terms of what weird state it's in. When you have a precedent with a couple different lawsuits now that any person who's like a late teenager or early 20s can sue them and say, you distressed me, and win millions of dollars. How are you going to survive?
Tough long-term play.
Oh my God. Maybe
they are
new movie will kind of help it.
popular. It is worth saying it's still the biggest social media and it's dominant and people use it. I think I saw among teens, it's like 5 to 7 hours a day is it's like some astronomical number. I think it's all social media, not just TikTok, but it's the biggest one of them. But still, it's like, these are, the thing they're fighting against is pretty entrenched. And I wanted to, if we're nearing the end of the subject, I want to steel man a little bit. There is a strong counter argument that's worth bringing up, which is that, for example, in the UK, for this next election, they have changed the law so that 16 is now the voting age. So you can vote at 16, but you can't use.
What was it?
It was 18 before.
Okay. Oh, they lowered it. Wow.
They lowered their voting age for the next election. And there is an idea of like, can you really tell someone they're old enough to choose the direction of the country, but they can't watch YouTube? There's like a freedom aspect of it. There's also an aspect of like, do we trust the government to be the one to control these platforms? These are areas where we could get opinions outside of the mainstream system and find other people that. There's the idea of like, could this be, once they have the verification systems, could they be turned even more restrictive later on if there was,
Well, the UK was already under fire for this, right? They, outside of kids, they were looking to broadly apply ID verification for social media accounts for everybody. Yeah. And they were facing a lot of criticism.
So it's like a totally fair point, and that makes it a really tough thing to have a solid podcast take trademark on.
Yeah.
In that, I wish people on that side would at least agree that, man, social media clearly is doing damage. We can't wait another 20 years to find out that it's fucking kids up. And then people on the other side have to realize that, like, the government doesn't always have 100% best freedom of speech interests in heart, and they could abuse this power if given it.
There's another argument going on, which is that, so if you are a social media, okay, we institute these bans.
This is yours.
Let's say, that's yours. Let's say we say under 18, no social media. We're cutting it out. Like, let's do it. How do you actually stop kids from doing this? Well, the only way to do it is to use like AI tracking, basically. And that's what's going on, right? Like, so YouTube now has the whole thing where they track your behavior and then use that to algorithmically determine whether you're young and then force age verification. And Roblox is doing a similar thing, which, if you remember, that candidate for Los Angeles mayor was complaining about the age verification thing. Like, TikTok has a new thing where they like analyze your face, like you were saying. And so if you have, tens of millions of people or hundreds of millions of people on your platform, and you are trying to determine if it's a person who's 13 pretending to be 17, the only way to do that is to get really invasive or require ID, right? Which maybe you don't have. Also, if you're a 13-year-old, are you going to have government ID and, all sorts of things like, can you speak freely about the government or whatnot if you were forced to be identified and tracked by the government at all times? Like, the actual implementation of how do you stop kids from using these apps is extraordinarily hard. And the only way to do it seemingly is to get more authoritarian. It's a little worrying. Like,
well, that's why I really like the idea of, but even though it's impossible, it's also impossible. But the idea of like attacking the part of the daily scroll, but attacking infinite scroll, attacking the parts of the platform that are so addictive. I know they'll just find a new way, which is the hard part of me thinking this through. But man, attacking that would actually be effective, because also we all agree on the show that the problems of social media don't actually stop when someone, their brain doesn't hit 18 and go, okay, I can handle this. It's poisoning our brain. It's poisoning everybody's brain.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's ruining society in some way.
Yes.
And so, like, if you just don't give them any antibodies when they're a kid, and they'll figure it out when they're 18. And they're going to get brain rotted anyway.
You're saying we drip it to them, they start at 1 minute a day until they've proven they can handle it.
I think you should get a minute per your age.
Yeah. But there's
so the oldest among us will get the most social media, which is good.
But if you're showing signs of brain rot, we like break glass and there's a book there and you have to read it.
We hand you the Giving Tree.
That's a slow ass book. No, it's like Catcher in the Rye. It's one nobody even likes.
Dude, that would be so funny. When I was in elementary school, they had all the books in the school library color coded with a little dot on them, and you get points for each book you read. If it was a bigger book, you got more points. What if the book would unlock amount of time you get on social media? So if you read Moby Dick, you get 2 hours.
That's what my parents did.
Did they really?
Yeah, we had to like do chores and like read books, and maybe you too, and like do homework, and then that would get, now you get 30 minutes of video game time. Like,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. It sucked.
Didn't do that.
Didn't help.
It was just blanket no on weekdays.
My kids were just mainlining Cartoon Network, and I was reading books like a coward.
Wait, your kids?
What?
Your kids? You have secret kids?
No. Like my friends. Like my friends. Oh, maybe I said kids. Sorry.
You said my kids.
Oh,
my kids.
My kids are watching Cartoon Network. Excuse me. My fellow kids.
Yeah, I can't imagine I'd actually like to hear people's suggestions. If you have one for the comments, sound off. But it feels like the two solutions are what you've just outlined. Is this more like stricter enforcement of IDs, like database of users, and which trends in this like more authoritarian direction, or an ability for a government figure or institution to enforce rules on the companies in a way that is much more broad and reactive than is currently allowed through like a more liberal justice system.
You're saying it's
or
the
legal
libs.
system.
You're saying the core problem here.
No,
is
I mean liberal in like the
dirty
more
libs.
in like the
No,
academic.
I understand.
Academic sense.
I have a Tucker Carlson story later. We'll talk about it.
Oh, I know what. Sorry, is my dog?
Yeah, we'll talk about your dog in a second.
No, but I do you see what I mean? It's like it feels like the solution. It's like these two prongs of solutions trend in a more authoritarian direction, but the stakes of the underlying issue feel very high. So I don't really know how to feel. So
I will say, like, if there's a world where kids were allowed to drink as much as they want, and then we started banning it, you could say this is a more authoritarian direction. But at the end of the day, some level of authoritarianism for some rules makes sense. Like people should not.
Like I would like
agree.
sports gambling to not be widely accessible.
There's things that should be banned. So I'm not like a total like laissez-faire, no rules for anyone.
I think I'm more in the camp of like on both fronts. When you have a problem that is digital, the layers of friction to adapt and change and mold the thing around the rules that have been made is always very quick and easy relative to a physical thing. So that is my worry, is like, I'm 100% of the belief that, okay, the UK government could draw up a strict set of laws that require social media companies to modify their platforms in a way that is less addictive. But like you said, I think with the pace at which these institutions can adapt and the age of the people in charge, they can only it's like Instagram finds a new workaround that is compliant with the law, and then you're back to square one.
8 years later, they finally adapted that. Yeah,
but in my miracle, in the hypothetical world, no consequences, I've made you the fucking social media czar in the country, and you can just—
The Daily Scroll!
And you decree the Daily Scroll, and anything that, like, just based on vibes that breaks the Daily Scroll, you just get to say no to.
Yeah.
You could just react on a whim. But that has all these consequences, because what if you're a really bad guy?
Wow.
And
that actually sounds really good. I like where your head's at, and I think I should handle all social media. But let's move on to a different story, because I think we can't. I want to hear your opinions. If you guys have solved this problem, let us know, and we'll pass it on to the decision maker. Next time Pete Buttigieg is here, we'll pass it along. Yeah. But it is. I guess what I'll say to sum this whole story up is that many countries, from the UK to the EU as a whole, South American countries, Asian countries, and America, they're all saying we can't wait anymore. People are so angry. Parents are so angry. Kids are seeing decline. They're having to do something. So the solutions won't be that good at first, I think, but hopefully someone can figure out something that makes progress.
And I'll say it. I would like to not also be banned from Twitter. So if they find a way to do that, let me know.
You would like to be banned?
I would like them to ban me from Twitter.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Honestly.
I've eliminated all the others, and then that still hooks me.
It keeps getting you back.
Speaking of YouTube, interesting. I mean, so this is a quick one, and then we'll move on.
Okay.
YouTube was sued a couple months ago, and it was by a group of indie musicians who sued them, trying to do a class action lawsuit, saying, "Hey, your new AI music model, Lyria 3, was made by copying all of our music." So this is kind of the broader, story of what is happening with AI music right now, where most of the companies, like Suno or Udio, which are the really big ones, are making AI music, and their models were trained off of all the music they could find on the internet. And their argument is fair use. We are transforming it, and we don't think that we've broken any laws here. This is a big ongoing discussion, which can potentially massively change the direction of AI development. But right now, these types of questions are still unanswered. With Google, it's a little bit different, because Google, they were sued by these musicians and said, "Hey, you copied our music," just like the other guys. But Google responded, this is June 10th, like 2 weeks ago, and responded to this lawsuit and said, first off, even accepting their untested allegations as fact, the complaint cannot stand. Basically, the lawyer opens and says, first off, you can't even prove if we trained it off of your music or not. But they won't say whether they did. Even accepting your untested allegations as fact, the complaint cannot stand, because plaintiffs granted YouTube and Google a broad license to use the uploaded content. And they're right. In the YouTube terms of service, when you upload something, quote, you grant to YouTube a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable license to use that content, including to reproduce, distribute, prepare derivative works, display, and perform it. So every time any of us upload something to YouTube, we are giving them the right to use it to train AI models.
It's crazy, because I read the full DMCA every single time I click through those things. Yeah. And I just must have missed that part.
Yeah.
Would that have stopped you? I suspect not. So this is interesting in that this is a kind of different story than the typical musicians sue AI company who responds with fair use. Google's like, look, we have the rights. And then the counter argument by the musicians is basically, I mean, I can find the quote here. Google doesn't just have access to our music. It operated the infrastructure through which much of that music reaches the world. Google owns YouTube, one of the most important platforms for music discovery, distribution, and monetization. And it runs Content ID, which is how they manage rights. And so they're basically, their counter argument is, because you guys are a massive distributor of music, we sort of have to upload. We can't really opt out if we want to have success, but that then allows you to do this sub thing with them. So this is an interesting case that, again, is part of a broader trend with the AI music lawsuits. And this one is totally different. So, you know, who knows? I think Google has a stronger case here. The other AI music players maybe less so.
Yeah, I mean, Suno's doesn't even have this, because you definitely didn't sign anything. They just stole music. They just stole music and uploaded it. And I assume if you really could get into the nuts and bolts of this, Google did too. I'm sure there's plenty of songs that aren't on YouTube that they threw into their model.
That's what's so funny is they're saying, like, even if you could prove what you're saying, like, we don't know. I looked, they have not said what they trained this music model off of.
Everything that I've seen from, you know, if, like, for example, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, they rented a building off of their office campus and had everyone bring in books to scan and then upload that they didn't own. And they just counted it as like, it's offsite. But, and that was proven. There's just no way that the AI companies, which are on a full speed race, aren't uploading every possible thing they can get their hand on to increase training data.
Yeah.
There's been no punishment for it so far on any real level. And so they're just doing it. Yeah. This reminds me of when Disney, there was a person that they ordered a restaurant for their a meal at a restaurant for their wife at a Disney park, and they said, "Is this gluten-free or something?" Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was
shellfish.
Does it have shellfish? And they're like, "No, it doesn't." Okay, and then she ate it. It did have shellfish. She died, and he goes, "I'm suing you. This is crazy. You lied to me." And they go, "You have a Disney Plus account, and there's a part of that EULA you signed 8 years ago that says you can never sue us and you have to go into forced arbitration." And so there's that level of like,
dude, and he wasn't even, I think the account had been like inactive for years. Like, he hadn't even watched Disney Plus.
Dude, I'm playing Baldur's Gate and it sounds like you're like signing a deal with the devil. Like you make this like permanent contract for, and then in return you get shellfish. I have a question for you, Aiden. What I've realized through this is that YouTube has the right to train an AI model off of all of our podcasts, and they could make Lemonade Stand AI and just replace us. Yeah. And would you watch it?
Would I watch Lemonade Stand AI?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we could cut costs here. We could save the gas of us driving in Los Angeles traffic.
They'll just never be able to replace the yard. The server would catch on fire. It would just. Oh.
You think it can't generate slime saying a fart joke?
YouTube's podcast AI would never be able to make a joke about how like we do.
Yeah. No, I don't. I
don't even know if we can keep that in this episode.
Yeah, probably have to bleep that. Probably have to bleep that. Can I talk about gaming being back?
Gaming is back. What's up?
Listen, every once in a while on the show, we have a story that proves to us that gaming is back.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, honestly, is the opposite of that, but I want to talk about it anyway.
Okay.
The two parts of this story. Number one is that yesterday, I believe, Valve finally announced the price of their much anticipated Steam machine, the console killer. It's bringing the PC to your living room. And it is astronomically high. It's like
Thank God. I was worried the plebes would be able to afford it. Thank God. I've been itching.
Aiden head to toe in Gucci and Montclair. So fucking happy that the regular folk cannot afford the Steam machine.
I woke up, I check my news feed like I do every morning to see if there's an update on the Steam machine. And I take my diamond grill out and I say, I was hoping for 2,000.
Thanks, Gabe. Still a little cheap, but thanks, Gabe. No, it's astronomically expensive. It's $1,049, I believe, with no controller.
That's the cheapest model with no controller.
Cheapest model with no controller. For everything
you need a controller to play.
You do need a controller to play, so basically
you don't.
What do you mean? You can plug in a keyboard?
We just touch the box. You can
plug in whatever you want.
You can plug in a keyboard. I'm sorry, you're right. But the Steam machine with controller, I don't know what the exact all-in cost for like a regular use case is, but it's like $1,200, $1,300, something like that.
Yeah.
And people are finding it to be extraordinarily expensive and certainly disappointing for what they expected. And Valve's response is that this is what it costs us to make. We're not even making a profit on the console, which is probably true given that the cost of RAM has gone astronomical due to AI. So this is seen as a response to like, hey, that's what it is. AI is buying all the chips. This is what we could get. But it does seem like it undercuts the momentum that Valve had of like, we're going to just start taking over the living room. Like that. I feel like this is going to be slow to be adopted.
Yeah, so I have a few thoughts on this. I watched a cool review of the product by Dave Tootie already, and he points out that if you try, like people are balking at the price, which I think is totally understandable, but if you try to build a comparable PC at the moment, like just on your own, the parts come out to a very similar price.
Yeah, they're not profiting on this, I think, or very little if they are.
The big thing that they're saying they won't do is a lot of console sales traditionally have been loss leaders. The idea that we'll sell this actually not at a profit, we'll sell it literally at a loss. Like the first Xbox sold that way.
Yeah.
And we will make that back through either your subscription to our online service, through the games that we're selling and publishing for the console. And Valve is refusing to subsidize the console and sell it at a loss, like a lot of companies do choose to do. I think the thing that does genuinely suck for them I've been keeping up weirdly close on the release timeline of this since their announcement. You know how like the Chrome app on your phone like just feeds you recommended news articles?
Yeah.
I clicked like 3 about the Steam machine when it launched, and then it feeds me
forever.
a new update every day.
This little Steam machine freak loves everything about it.
Yeah, and he's like, and then I keep clicking.
He wants to know the specs. He wants to know the...
There's an infinite scroll about Steam machine price updates.
That's the world we live in, dude. The infinite scroll's gotten so deep.
Yeah, it's even hidden Google Chrome.
It's hidden everything.
But they did delay the announcement, the price, and I think everything about this because of the problems they were running to in the cost of the parts. And this is not just being felt by them right now. You can see this in the price increases across consoles in general. They raised the price on the Steam Deck. So if you look
Xbox is up, PlayStation is up, phones are going up in price next year. Like the RAM cost has increased tech across the board.
You can basically, and the biggest fault of this, arguably, is that it only has 8 gigabytes of RAM in it. Like that is a decision that they made. If you track the price increase with the Steam Deck and assume that they had to make a similar adjustment in the price of this, you can see that the original intended price of this product was around like $750 to $800. But they had to push it up to this. They couldn't even push this down to $999, like below $1,000,
which is much cheaper.
Yeah, but they obviously made a decision internally to like it crosses the 1,000 mark. And I was talking to this in our just a friend group chat, and I was like, dude, this has to be the worst time ever to choose to launch a video game console.
Yeah, it just looks bad.
Because you're just gonna get eaten alive, regardless of the reasons.
I'm revealing myself as a fake gamer. Why, even in the world where this is more affordable, why would this be disruptive or impactful? The machine? Because I thought the whole pitch is like, because it is just a PC, why is this substantially different than somebody buying a pre-built PC that you can do?
I think the idea, it takes me to the second story, but actually I'll do a second story. It's a good answer to your question.
Okay.
So Sony recently, over the past few years, has wanted to make more money off their big console exclusives like God of War and Spider-Man. And so they said, well, we're in a war with Xbox. We can't release it there. Nintendo is a whole different platform, different specs. Can't release it there. What if we release them on PC? And so they quietly have been releasing a lot of their major titles on PC. Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, God of War. And they all made a ton of money. They did a longer-term study of these users, and they realized, here's the problem. Once they realized they can just wait and get our best titles on PC, their purchase intent on a PlayStation has dropped to nothing. They realized that the best thing to do is kind of just to own a PC. PC can get it gets every Xbox game. It gets almost every game but Nintendo games. And so PC gaming has quietly, despite being, backseat to consoles for most of like when we were growing up, has become the dominant form of gaming. You get the most value for your buck.
And if you're a crazy little guy, you'd be playing Nintendo games on it too.
If you're crazy,
don't tell them.
Don't
tell them. I wouldn't do it.
Nintendo would still kill us.
Couldn't catch me doing it.
So PC gaming has really just taken off, and Steam has become the dominant platform store for buying video games. And it has all the latest new indie games and the games you play with your friends and all the games that don't release on consoles or release much later on consoles. And so Steam has realized that the last battle is like there's some group of gamers who only play on their couch in front of the TV. They don't actually have a gaming PC. It's overwhelming. It's too hard to set up. The idea of it's too daunting. If they can crack that code and they can put a Steam machine that's very one click and press and play in your living room, it kind of could blow the console makers out of the water. It could be the last bastion. So that was the idea, is like Steam could have total dominion over gaming with this final push.
And nothing will crack the living room quite like a $1,050 price tag.
But this price tag really put a damper on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two stories. It's like just a weird time in gaming. I will say PC gaming is clearly looking pretty good. Xbox is in a total tailspin. They're doing layoffs. They're closing down studios. They're moving all exclusives to PC. And Sony and Nintendo are kind of walling up their gardens again. Oh, so the Sony story, the end result of it is that Sony has said they're pulling back from PC releases of their exclusives. The next God of Wars and stuff are not going to go on PC. They're going to literally be console only. You have to buy a console because they realize that they're kind of like selling themselves out long term.
Yeah, I feel like if that's the lesson to learn from Nintendo more than anything, right? Like that is the real brand power of Nintendo. It's like you want to play fucking Mario?
You want to play Mario, bitch?
You want to play Mario? Mario?
You better buy a damn game. You better got a console or Switch 12.
Anyway, I'm on the wait list. So
you're on the
yeah.
Obviously, you're going to buy 12 of them because you like to work from home. Okay, and if you're working from home, what exactly is the vibe?
What's the vibe at working from home?
Yeah, that's good.
I wanted
Nobody even noticed, especially now that we've called it out explicitly.
I wanted to ask you guys a question because I saw an intriguing opinion article about work from home now that it has been more established and we're years past COVID. And this was making the argument that everybody enjoys remote work for the most part. You poll people, it's like 80% of people say they prefer remote work. It's better for them for a multitude of reasons. Like you don't have to commute anymore. You can do like little chores throughout your day. You can be at home with your kids. There's so many reasons why work from home is super, super appealing. But this, the person who wrote this article was going through a couple different studies and basically making the argument that this era of work from home is increasingly isolating people and causing them to be more depressed, have fewer connections with people, and have these slower, downward effects on you after years and years of doing remote work. And the reason I thought this was interesting, this was more of like an open question to you guys, is do you agree with that idea or takeaway? Because in the comments of this article, as you can expect, people are like New York Times shills trying to get us to go back to work. Like the establishment just is doing whatever they can to convince us to go back. Basically, like a bunch of people arguing that the New York Times is like a part of the cabal that is forcing people to work in office again. And while I can see why people would want to push back against this, because I literally started working for Ludwig. One of my primary two reasons was because my old job was asking me to go back into office.
Right.
And I was like, I absolutely do not want to do that. And however, now the way I work is like I go into an office every day. A very non-traditional office at that, though. And I wanted to just get your guys' thoughts on this. Like, how do you think like work from home affects you guys as like with your careers? What you think this is like for normal people, where you sit on the topic in general, kind of looking for everybody's opinions listening to this too. Because I can kind of see multiple sides of this issue just looking at myself, not even thinking about other people.
It's funny that you mentioned the New York Times as being accused of being the deepest shill on this, because my counterpoint comes from the New York Times to this article. This is an opinion guest essay that you're showing. Can you show mine as well? This is also an opinion guest essay. This is one that just came out yesterday that I read. It was called "The Secret Reason Bosses Want Everyone Back in the Office Every Day of the Week." And it's a 6-year study that interviewed thousands of employees and bosses on work from home. And what it found was the one trait that is consistent across all managers that wanted the most work in office time is ego, as in they really enjoyed the feeling of being the boss in person.
Yeah.
That was the most consistent trait that led to someone wanting to bring everyone as much as possible. So, and that, in my own experience, having done a few years of work from home and work in the office from NVIDIA, where this debate would happen a lot, that tracks with the managers who wanted it the most versus the wanted it the least.
Yeah.
Was the ones who really enjoyed the feeling of like, I don't know, lording over meetings and walking around the cubicles. And those people were the most of like, we have to get back in the office right away. And so I think there's some truth to that. However, I've talked to some people in my audience about this, younger people, and I do think there's a point of like, if you've already established yourself and you're good at what you do, work from home is pretty convenient. But if you're new, there is a weird thing of like joining an office and being work from home immediately. You don't get to know anybody. You don't get really any mentorship. You don't learn a lot of skills. You're often more isolated. And I do think if I'd started my career work from home, I would be less excited about it. So I don't know. I think there's probably, like most things, some stupid ass nuance. I don't know, Doug, what do you say?
Dumbass, fucking stupid nuance.
I have no hot take. There's so clearly like it depends on the environment and the pros and cons. I think what you just said is an important one, which is, I mean, like I remember my first programming job. Like with every single programming team, you have the guy who knows everything and he's the only reason the team even functions and he comes in to fix everything. And like going to that guy and being able to just walk over and ask for help and like communicate what's going on, it was an enormously important part of that job. And that would have been miserable without that. And I wouldn't have developed and become the amazing programmer that I immediately quit and stopped doing forever. And then, and then like hybrid roles, it's like those, even if it's 2 days a week in person, like those are really important to connect with people. And then there's just the sense of, I think generally creativity is better when you have people in person than online. Although again, obviously that totally depends on the environment. I find that doing solo brainstorming or I can walk around in my own environment is extremely important. But also it should be in person, right? I think both these, so to me, like the dream would be hybrid roles, but it obviously depends on the team and the company and the situation. And if you have to commute an hour and a half each way, then that's going to add such misery to your life.
I feel like, so the real negatives of working in the office in my mind are the commute, the required structure of a company, the feeling that you have to force or pretend to do work for like a full 8-hour period when oftentimes you don't need to be working for that whole time. And then,
you ever been in a company where your seat is in front of your manager and they can see your computer? Have you ever been in that situation?
Yes. I sat next to my manager.
It's so horrendous. It's so horrendous because...
Oh, dude, I was also, not only that I was next to, this is what ESL with Perry, I was not only next to my boss, also I was like right in front of the main conference meeting room, which all day long had parts of teams for the entire company with glass walls, and then I'm on the other side of it and they can look at my monitor.
Yeah, because sometimes your brain's fried. You scroll Reddit for a second, or just like but you can't do it, and so you're like constantly having Excel sheets open. I'm so glad my seat moved in my early days of Twitch because I could not. It was like stressing me out to pretend all the times.
I've had this one time.
Yeah,
I've had this one time, but it was next to my boss, Ken Hotbed Chen.
Oh, he's if you know this guy, it's not.
So as you can imagine, I looked over at his monitor and he was on Reddit most of the time.
Yeah, and your current boss, Ludwig, I don't think would be too.
Yeah, he's not really breathing down my neck in the same way. But I think the last piece of it is when you really need to zone in and focus to get a certain amount of stuff done. I think being in an open office can like take away from that sometimes. But I think if you remove the commute and like the hard structure part, most people I feel like would want to come in. And the reason I say this is because I've actually made a big push at Mogul in like the last year and a half for people to start coming in more. And there's no hard policy about this, but there's something that I have noticed.
Sorry, it says the people that want more people in the office have a tendency to be self-centered and entitled. They have higher opinions of themselves as leaders, and they covet power and status. You were saying you've been pushing for
COO. Yeah,
so
go ahead. How are you running the office?
If I can make an argument for a different reason, as
the more they coveted power and status, the more they favored return to office mandates.
okay.
And so do you walk around and you kind of look at what they're working on?
Yeah, and you kind of like check in.
Again, don't do that. No mandate.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, none of that.
Interesting.
I said.
No, I'm just reading the. I'm not
encourage people to come in more. No one's been laid off.
If you want to be a team player, come on in. But there's no mandate.
Yeah. Oh, wait, Jeff just got fired. I wouldn't hate to meet him like him.
No one got fired. No one got fired for that reason.
Would hate.
Hey guys, just had to shut down Off-Brand. I think it'd be cool if you come into the office, but no pressure.
Walking around with a $3 million chain.
Okay, something I have noticed as the guy who manages everybody at the company, who is essentially HR, is that the people who come in the least feel the most isolated in their role and have the most negative opinions about how other people in the company feel about them. That's what I have noticed.
Oh, interesting.
So I think there's a lot of like, when you're texting somebody, there's an ambiguity in like the tone or how they mean it. And if we meet person to person, I see your like face, I see your body language. Like we have a much clearer path of communication. Like right now you can tell that
Yeah, exactly. He's flipping me off under the table.
Feel like heat emanating off his skin.
And I think people coming into our office develops a like stronger morale and camaraderie and comfort around everybody that makes people just happier to be at the company.
You're saying your office is like a family.
Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god!
No, I want to agree with you.
Insane.
I want to make fun of you. I want to make fun of you.
This is a company where people auto plays Deadlock for 6 hours a day. That's my fucking point. It's like if people just get done what they need to get done. And they can come in.
I agree with you.
They can come in.
I'm just making fun of you.
They can fuck around. We can watch the NBA finals together. People can play video games together.
There's no Indeed list next to this that you're trying to get
No, I'm not hiring anybody. Okay. I'm making a case that like I think people enjoy. This is not a company where like nobody does work. Like this past week before this Minecraft event we did, a handful of people are throwing together like 12-hour days together in the office in order to get this event prepped and done on time. And then, but in the week after, where there's like maybe a couple months before the next project, the next day they can be in there and like, let's have fun and play. Like, we'll like do a couple meetings that we have to get done today. And then we'll like play Counter-Strike together for a couple hours. I'm not saying this is going to happen at fucking Amazon, but I'm saying that in this environment where a bunch of people have like relatively short commutes, don't have any like hard rule, me breathing down their neck and like demand that they're in like a spreadsheet all day. People are really happy to come in and like separate home life from work life. And I'm not saying that's a standard that's like sustainable at every mega corporation, but like it's the reason that I gave up on working literally from home all the time because it made me sad. For the reasons that in this article, years before I read this article, I was like, I realized working at home alone all the time without talking to anybody ever just fucking makes me sad. And it's fun to be around other people and like be able to turn to your coworker and like, hey, can we like do that thing? And like, I think
to agree with you, I want to just say we for this show often do episode planning meetings like on Thursdays, and we'll do them on a Discord call. And the energy of that call versus when we got in this room and all brainstormed on a whiteboard is a million times night and day. We're on Discord, we're all kind of half distracted. We're like, some people are silent, you're throwing ideas. We get it done, but it's not, when we get in person, there's a much more of an energy. We're riffing off each other. We invented great concepts like the Nordic fun fact of the week. We spent 3 hours brainstorming, we got that. Okay, things happen. So I totally agree that there's a difference, and I just think it's often nuanced and person by person. You were going to show something?
Oh, no, I mean, that was just for you, Brandon.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so, you know what, though? I agree with you on this. But one thing
let's swap this. Go ahead.
One thing I don't agree with you on that I've kept my rage boiling about. Obviously, I almost thought about not bringing this up again because it's only negative for me. I'm not going to change the dynamic that 85% of Americans have a credit card and are very attached to it.
Don't worry. I have another way to bring this up and talk shit about you on Patreon.
Okay, perfect. However, an article I read recently in Business Insider that I wanted to share with you guys, and we could pull it up on screen. It's called The Premium Credit Card Trap. And I wanted to bring this up as a launching pad because I think it articulated some things that I was far too stupid to get across when I was explaining why I am a little bit wary of these premium credit cards. And this is a longer article. I'll give you the key highlights. It basically noted that over recent years, the yearly fees of these so-called vaunted credit cards like Amex Platinum and Chase Sapphire Rewards and keeps going up. And it went up from like $695 to $785. One of them's $820. They're rising and rising. And people at the margins are starting to notice that maybe this doesn't make as much financial sense as they thought. And there's evidence in this article. If you have a premium credit card, they are being much more deliberate about which companies they give you special bonuses and rewards for. And they're making partnerships with these companies. And the idea is to kind of subtly push you into shopping that direction over another direction. And what they found was if they do something like, hey, you get 10% off a Delta Airlines flight, but only if you shop business class. What they're finding is consumers are spending a lot more. For every 1% they increase the rewards, the monthly points they get back, people's spending increases 32%. And so people are spending quite a bit more on these things. And so, like for example, you probably would have gotten the economy flight, but because there's a 10% discount on Visa, it's like you're almost losing money if you don't get it. It's a psychological trick. It'd be a bad deal. So you have to buy it. And that's happening with like some deluxe gym memberships and, all sorts of things. People are just spending money they wouldn't normally spend. And you're in a bit of what this article kind of breaks down is that you are in a bit of a psychological war where if you do everything right and you're super on top of it, there is benefits to this. You obviously can extract more than you put in, but you're in a bit of a battle at all times where they are trying to influence, trick, subtly nudge you to spend more or in different ways than you otherwise would have. And I think there's a freedom from that in some way where if you just opt out, you are not playing that game.
Well, I just want to clarify here. You're saying opt out of platinum credit cards, right? That have these very high fees.
These are all the fees ones and the luxury ones.
Right. And I just want you to know that that is not every credit card. You can get a just normal ass credit card.
No, I totally understand. But yes, you can get a normal ass credit card. You're right. You can do that. But even that, so the psychological aspect is that when you buy something with normal cash, there is a cost in your brain and a upside in your brain that you put together. But what they say in this article is that when you have a credit card, the cost is removed.
With platinum credit card.
No, any credit card.
Any credit card.
The cost is removed because you're not seeing the money go out of your account. And you get a second dopamine bonus of like, I'm going to get some points back. So you get double the dopamine bonuses and you get none of the costs. So you still spend more than you otherwise would.
Dopamine.
So
wait, hold on. I just want to. So
what's bad about it?
So yeah. So as long as you extract more, like you were saying, you get double dopamine for every purchase instead of worrying about the money side.
That's right.
All I'm hearing is double dopamine. No downside.
It's a tasty cookie. They described it in this article as like smelling a delicious cookie, and it makes you want to eat cookies. Okay, so yes,
baby. Okay,
I'll defend you for a second. I have one of these like premium credit cards. I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, not an ad. And here I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't get it, basically. Okay. The first time I heard about this card years ago was when the annual fee was like $300 or $350. And this was a card that came with an instant $300 travel credit. So as long as you were someone who paid to travel at all during the year, the card basically immediately paid itself off, accounting for nothing else.
Sure.
And then a few years later, I want to say like 4 or 5 years later, the fee got up to $500. Still the $300 travel credit, still a bunch of these other perks. Realistically, if you're spending if you're a middle income person spending any decent amount of money on this card, it's probably, and you go on like one trip in a year, it's going to pay for itself. However, like a year ago, they raised the fee to $800. And they also reduced a lot. That $300 travel credit is still there alone, but a lot of the other benefits changed. And the way it works is you only get like a ton of the benefits if you spend it on this premium list of like hotels and restaurants that they've like curated deals with. And if you weren't already a consumer at these really high-end hotels or really high-end restaurants, then you're just getting encouraged into spending more money in order to see the benefit of that at all. And me and my girlfriend have the same credit card, but she has a much more like normal salary. She makes like $70,000 a year. So for her, this card and the $800 fee just flat out did not make sense anymore. And I think the way it works is like there's kind of a confusion and like how you can get out of your credit card. Like canceling your credit card reduces your like credit points because you're getting rid of a portion of your credit history sometimes. But she ended up downgrading to like the base Chase card that has like no fees and like no big things attached to it. So she's not getting any of the upside, but she doesn't have to pay this fee anymore. And this was her final, like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just too much. This doesn't make sense. And the only reason it even financially makes sense for me, as somebody who still refuses to book, these are like hotels and restaurants that are like thousands and thousands of dollars per night. It's just ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to do that. But if you spend like a certain amount on your credit card in a year, you hit like another airline credit or something that like works for me. Mm-hmm. But the reality is they've like they've had this slow creep in the fees and like push you towards like more expensive and niche things. And this is happening with the competitors too, where they're basically just making deals with companies to extract more and more money out of you. Yeah. And that is totally a part of this process, especially at these like high value end ones that have gotten pushed to a wider and wider consumer base.
Yeah, and they, kudos to your girlfriend for choosing to downgrade, because they say in this article that there is a huge psychological aspect of loss aversion where people associate some level of status or lifestyle to once they join these groups or have these cards. Yeah. And the idea that you have to downgrade is actually damaging to people. They feel bad about it. They feel like they don't.
I think they give you these tiny ideas of lifestyle perks. Like they'll give you access to like nice airport lounges. They have like the fucking Centurion or like the Chase lounges that are really nice. But then we talked about this. There's a story on the Primo the other week. They don't have any room because it's not special to have these credit cards. Everybody fucking has them. So there's always like all of the perks, a ton of the perks can't even be enjoyed because too many people have this thing in the first place. You're not a part of some exclusive social club.
There's a quote here. People may be overly optimistic about how many of the benefits they'll use when signing up to a card. And once they realize they failed, they keep it anyway because it feels like a sunk cost. And hope springs eternal. They'll utilize it better later. So, they take advantage of that. Anyway, I don't know. I actually don't care. I want to be clear. I don't actually care. You do whatever you want. Many people in the Discord have proven that they are mathematically making out on these. I literally live your life. I don't care. I just want to bring this up because this article is interesting to me, and I think I just like the idea of avoiding any mental battle with a big bank ever. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it. I will get tricked. I'll get beaten, and so I opt out. And I think there's other people that agree with that. And
for the grinders, that are really proving the value of it, like fuck it, you're doing it. Most people are not doing that, and I think, as much as I've made fun of you about this, I think the reality is, like so many things, like an Uber that was so cheap at first and then caught on broadly enough, so now the prices can be raised. Like, this is something where the deal was so good at the beginning. That's how they attracted the initial user base of people, and now so many people have these cards that we're in the extraction point. For the average person, this is working against you and not for you. And that's just the reality. That's the only reason it gets to exist. That's the reason credit cards get to exist, period. Yeah. So I think to be in denial of that, and it's like, and for me personally, I'm like, I make fun of you because I think the reality is you're in an economic tier where you just be taking advantage of this. But I think the entire basis of these systems only exists on that there's a bunch of people losing and the bank makes a ton of money. That's just the reality.
That brings me to a different story. It's not on our list, but I want to talk about it anyway. I'll just do a quick story pivot, which is that, I don't know if you guys know, but for the past few years, only one streaming service has been profitable, and that's Netflix. Everybody else has been losing money. Netflix stock over the past 6.5 months, this is stock of the week, I guess, has basically halved because consumers are finally, it was seen as like Disney Plus is a luxury, HBO is a luxury, Netflix is a utility. I have my electricity bill, I have my water bill, I have my Netflix bill. Netflix for many families is just like, you just pay it. They keep raising prices, you just pay it. They have begun to cut their Netflix bill. Netflix people have started to cut back. That's not like a massive drop in subscribers, but I wish I had the numbers exactly on top of my head. But the idea is that there's been some shaky trends in recent Netflix data of longtime Netflix subscribers finally cutting their bill and finding other ways to watch TV or movies. And that is interesting because they were in their extraction phase for a while now, where they have been raising prices relentlessly, and people are just going along with it because they had the biggest library and they were the most all-arounder streamer services for families and so yeah, just an interesting little update I wanted to give. That's the stock of the week. Netflix is
40% over a year is wild.
Yeah,
for the big streamer.
Yeah,
like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a pretty shocking downgrade, especially in a time where the market overall is way up. Like most companies, even money-losing companies, are doing quite well. And so for Netflix to be hit so hard by the market is like, it's a sign of like, wow, people are stretched a little bit on.
Do you feel like this is one of those situations where the stock market or the stock, let's say, is just divorced from the fundamentals of the business? Because presumably Netflix is still a profitable, good business. It's just not the, oh my God, this is the future of media.
Yeah, probably.
Type of dominance.
I hate to make any prediction on a short-term stock movement.
Subscribers are not halved. I'm trying to get some numbers right here, but yeah, I mean, it's gone down. I don't even know if it's gone down. It's just not going as much.
Yeah, I think it just grows slow. I think the point is that the stock market, the price it had before was baking in a up into the right graph of growth that was like beautiful, and now that graph looks like it's flattening or going down. And when that's
do you think this is? And I know meme.
Wait, real quick. Yeah, real quick. Just so from Variety, like they went 2024, they had 300 million subscribers. End of 2025, they had 325. So it's kind of wild that they are still they are getting millions of subscribers every year.
Wow.
And their stock is plummeting.
Yeah. Although I will say some of those are downgrading from the profitable tier to the ad-supported tier to the.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it is like it's a change in the makeup. But yeah, I agree. It's it could be a recession indicator that people are finally cutting this bill. But I don't know. I don't know what it means. All I know is that Netflix. I've talked about streaming industry for years and years and years, and Netflix has always been the rock solid one. They've always been like everyone else, shit in the bed. They figure it out. This has finally happened. And what's interesting is like, this is happening basically 6 months after they walked away from the Paramount deal from buying Warner Bros. Discovery. And the idea was we were going to spend $100 billion to buy Warner Brothers and HBO, and the market was shaky about it. We walked away. Our stock went up, and then it went straight. Everyone's like, never mind. So I don't know. It was just interesting.
Aiden, what you were saying?
Or I'm the recession indicator thing, but do either of you use Netflix a lot?
No. I canceled.
You're
pointing at him? What's going on here?
The cops will get me. I'm a pirate freak.
What?
I was avoiding saying it.
He was avoiding saying it. I'm as lazy as I sound from the credit card section. It's not like I would normally set this up. My wife saw that we were paying for HBO and Netflix, and she's like, no, cancel that. She set up some kind of media server.
And she wants me to move in to split your mortgage.
Well, yeah, because we have to save the money. Yeah. So we'll all split the bills on that. And so, yeah.
Was that media server, was that over the last 6 months?
That's what crushed Netflix's stock. I was paying for 100,000
subscriptions.
Because to me, the other answer could be, and it's hard to imagine that it would all happen at once like this, is the catalog just declining in value so much that people are finally reaching a breaking point and cutting off their subscription. But I'd leave that to the Netflix heads in the chat too.
All I know from Netflix heads is that they fucking hate that Netflix makes shows they like and then cancels them after 2 seasons every single time.
Shout out to Sense8. Fucking banger.
That's all I know from Netflix heads. But we got off topic. I wanted to talk about the G7 countries, unrelated. And I hope to God there's no stories about AI related to them, but maybe there is.
Boy, do I have a crazy turn of events for you. All right, this is a
guy with cereal and
this is in large part in follow-up to the Anthropic story where their new model Fable/Mythos was shut down. So I think we mostly just talked about this on Patreon. But this is a big deal. So a week and a half ago, Anthropic, they released their new model Fable. This is the big, crazy, high, oh my God, this is going to change cybersecurity forever. And they had restrictions on it, but then the United States government, the Commerce Department, said, you need to shut this down. There's security flaws. Fast forward a week and a half, and it's still not back up. I think there's many people who thought, this is going to be, Anthropic's quote was like, this is a misunderstanding. Because this would be crazy to establish a world where America, the government, can on a whim press a button basically and say you have to shut down access to this thing. And so at G7, the summit with all these world leaders, some interesting things happened. And this is interesting things in like world leaders are talking and maybe things will happen. So this is more of a high level like vibes. However, interesting vibes. First off, people like French President Macron and the PM of India, Modi, voiced concerns to the U.S. folks that they're basically saying, hey, we are concerned that if you just cut off access to the top American models at any given time, if you just switch on and off, why would we want to start developing our infrastructure or military or encouraging startups or businesses to be using any of this stuff? If we hook this up into our power grid or our military or how we run the country, let alone like a new startup in India is like built a cool commerce website and they're using AI to help power things. And then suddenly Trump's like, nah, don't want it this week.
Yeah.
This is an enormous.
It's a very fair.
This is an enormous concern from a world power. And, right now, AI usage is really starting to kick off the past 6 months in particular. I don't have quantifiable data for that, but certainly vibes in terms of how much people are talking about Claude Code. And then from the American AI perspective, right, we've talked a billion times about how the AI companies are essentially driving the economy of America right now and all of our growth. Well, how is a company like OpenAI or Anthropic going to continue driving unbelievable growth by saying AI is going to run everything if they can't even go to a company or a country and say, you're definitely going to be able to use our product? Right? If they're like, it's the equivalent of like selling washing machines, but the washing machines just might get turned off by Trump randomly with no warning, no explanation, and no recourse.
Yeah, I mean, Anthropic's being sued right now by consumers, many of them who paid for the extreme tier of model to try Fable, and it's now been a week and they haven't been able to use it. I wanted to use it, I can't use it. It's just not there. And in their announcement, they're like, we'll have more information within a day. Within like 24 hours.
Yeah.
There's been no
They
update.
assumed this would be quickly resolved of like, this is crazy. And so another part of this meeting was they proposed a trusted partners program where certain other countries would get sort of exclusive access to the top models from Anthropic and OpenAI in terms, it's like a sort of like trade network that bypasses the restrictions. But if you think about what that means, they're talking about it like it's a military weapon.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy. Like a
we,
nuke.
as France, we want to have a deal that we get access to the early models before they're released publicly. And so I think what's been happening over the past few weeks is a strong indicator that suddenly AI, whether it is deserved or not, has, at least from the political perspective, reached the state of nuclear weapon level geopolitical importance. Mm-hmm. And that is fucking crazy. Particularly given that there's no clarity on really why this is happening or when it's going to be resolved or what's going on. So
I think it ignites or reinforces fears around tech that's not AI being shut down by the US as well. Like, we've seen these changes within the European Union of them moving away from certain types of US software for in order to maintain sovereignty around how they like keep their data or things like that. And then, or if you take something like WhatsApp, if the US government can command like Meta to shut WhatsApp down, well, India is WhatsApp's biggest market to a point that like the new lead at WhatsApp is like an Indian, someone who has a ton of history in like Indian tech. And like you could just shut off that entire service for a country because the American government made that decision.
Yeah.
I feel like all of this...
WhatsApp is like used for business transactions.
Yeah.
This isn't just like a texting app. Like these companies and these products like underlie the ecosystem of countries now.
No, I feel like you go to a ton of foreign countries and the main thing they list is the company's WhatsApp in order to like contact them.
Yeah.
I feel like these conversations around AI enforce all of that for the other things that are lower stakes around it. Too. Right. It's like a reminder of like how reliant we are. Like if I'm in another country, how reliant we are on so many forms of American technology.
Right. Right. It would be extraordinarily concerning if you're in another country. Right. And it seems like this stuff, and again, this is all predicated on the idea that AI is as powerful and dangerous and that's part of the irony here is like we as the public really don't know whether Fable is that powerful because they haven't fucking let us test it, right? So like this may or may not be as dangerous.
From the NSA or whatever, where they were like, Claude Mythos hacked our servers in not weeks but days, or what? They said something, but I have no idea. I really have no idea the accuracy, where that came from. How? There's a number of different. I mean, I've tried to keep up where I can. There's a number of different companies who get access who are like, it helped us in this ways or this way. So like you have Firefox coming out and saying, oh my God, it's helped us with so many bugs. This is unbelievable, the rate at which we're able to do things.
but it identified things but didn't have a good solution. And then there's other companies that say it said that it identified 8 things, but in practice, it was only one semi-important one. This was an open source software. I want to say it's like curl, something like that. There was a low-level programming video about that. But anyways, it's just a really bizarre, this feels like a huge inception point for like how AI is going to be distributed globally.
Yeah. I thought what you said about it being treated like a nuclear weapon was very, very apt. There's this article called A Signal of Where Power Sits. And I'm just going to show you the picture from it, but it's the idea. I don't know if you can pull this up, Harry. It's just this, when you look at this meeting at the G7 and it's like world leader, AI CEO, world leader, AI CEO, world leader. It's just kind of a wild time where they're just all sitting there discussing these monumental changes, and they're treated with the power of nation states almost. If you're like Sam Altman or you're Dario Amodei, it's just kind of a crazy thing. And it's such an important or seemingly important technology and change for military and for economics that they're being treated with this level of it's just wild to me.
There's a different recent story about Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan disabling access to Claude for their bankers in Hong Kong because of the combined scrutiny of the American government being concerned about non-citizen access to these platforms, but also China's concern of American AI being used within Hong Kong. And yeah, I don't know. It's starting to crop up in like all these minor ways.
The world where a new AI model is announced and OpenAI says, hey, we came out with something that's like really powerful. This is introducing a whole new class of like military capabilities, cybersecurity capabilities, software capabilities, things that could really make a difference. And we're just giving it to classified world leaders for 6 months. I don't love the vibe of that. You know,
no, it's spooky.
It feels extraordinarily less democratized and more leaning towards government just kind of having this extraordinary power.
Extraordinary power.
It's apparently people think I'm in favor of like government mass surveillance or something. I saw a comment about that. So
that was my alt.
That was your alt?
Yeah, I want to shout out. Okay, I actually do want to shout out a guy in the comments of that video, because when we were talking about
which video? Last one?
This is 2 episodes ago. Where we're talking about how mass surveillance within Russia was starting to be used against the government. And Doug's like going through a ton of different aspects of like the pros and cons of like the consequences of this technology being used by like authoritarian governments and like how it could be misused. Very, I would argue, a very interesting exploration of the topic. And then some initial commenters were like, Doug or all 3 of us were pro-government surveillance. And there was one commenter who clearly was pissed off that he was reading this from all the other people. And he wrote like an essay where he time-stamped all of the stuff. And he was like, I have no idea how you guys are coming to this conclusion. Here's like X, and X point where Doug like pre-addresses what you're saying. You guys are idiots. Like and I wanted to shout out that one guy who took the time to write that up, because I was going insane.
That's Aiden's alt. I'm gonna.
No, it's not my alt. Not
this
my
heroic commentator who wrote it out.
Which is crazy because that guy's wrong. I am super for mass surveillance.
Yeah, you've always been saying that.
I was very embarrassing to read.
You said a camera in every home.
Bro, read in between the lines here. I brought up Flock. That means I support mass surveillance.
Stock of the week.
Funny stuff. 2. I want stock of the week.
Stock of the week.
Okay, so clearly coming out of G7, AI, and again, I want for no avoidance of doubt, AI is as good as all the hype, and it is super powerful and important.
It's like a nuclear weapon, but good.
No, yeah. And no avoidance of doubt, no nuance, all good. And
I agree with you 100% except for one.
And certainly Grok. That would mean, except for Grok. And certainly that means that stock go up forever if AI.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, Grok. So
what cereal meme spit out milk?
That's the best transition I've ever heard in my life. Can I give you a handshake for that one?
He's a professional.
Look, I wanted to do a stock of the week on the most important stock of the last week. Everyone was talking about it. We covered it. SpaceX IPO'd, made $1 gazillion, went up 30% in like 2 days. Elon Musk, first trillionaire, and then like $1.5 trillion. And the company was worth more than Microsoft at one point, which is insane after 3 days. And now, if we check in today, briefly,
No.
It has fallen below where it started.
No! But he's still a trillionaire, right?
Wait,
I believe he's still a trillionaire.
Oh.
briefly. So it bounced back up from where it
It's
started?
right about where it started.
Okay.
Basically, it's right about where it started. So all of the post-IPO gains have wiped out. Again, this is like normal swings of a brand new company. I'm not going to talk about this more than once. I just want to say, because of the hype for this particular company and because of the Wall Street Bets enthusiasm, I love this Derek Zoolander face you've got going on, a lot, and I mean a lot, I mean a record-breaking number of people. Oh, wow, maybe it's down a tiny bit from where it started. A record-breaking number of people in human history bought short-term call options on this stock in the few days after its launch, which basically is a very short-term bet. You don't actually own any stock. It's a bet that it will go up in a short period of time. And if it doesn't, you lose a lot of money. And it broke the record that was on Meta stock from years ago by like 20x. It's the most ever done. So a lot of people, specifically Wall Street bettors, Korean stock gamblers, Taiwanese stock gamblers, all of them are currently underwater and begging and praying the stock goes up quickly. It has to go up soon and a lot, or a lot of people will have lost a lot of money on this, which is why I bring this up. Additionally, because you'd expect this stock, if it was going to pop now, because over the next 6 months, a lot more supply is going to get dumped on the market. As everyone who's an employee or a banker or Elon Musk himself, the lockup period ends and they can now dump their share. They can't do that yet. They can't sell. There's 4% of the company available for sale. Soon it's going to be 10, 20, 30% of the company available on market. So the idea is that this is a spooky sign if you are like many people on this online who are like, I just sold my house to put it all into SpaceX. Or I just like put my entire 401k into SpaceX. And everything in SpaceX, I'm believing. You don't want this to be happening so early. You'd like this to be popping for a lot longer before anything like this happens.
Do you think that when John Capitalism invented money, this is what he was thinking about? Like a rocket company goes and IPOs and they put 4% up for sale, and then various gamblers around the world, like Korean mobsters, are putting their life savings on a short-term call option about whether it goes up, not related to the actual product.
I think he would smile and get misty-eyed at how far Elon Musk has pushed his little game.
Yeah.
Mr. Cap would say, by golly, the market.
By golly, the market's done it again. No, I do think this is a subversion of
Cap,
every possible thing you'd like free markets for.
Cat planted seeds for trees he would never sit under the shade of.
Yeah, I think it's a little cartoonish, but at the very least, I guess I'm Schadenfreude happy that people on Reddit who are like, you're going to say dumb and poor for not buying into this.
Is that like Wall Street Bets?
Yeah, like not even most of Wall Street Bets like this is a bad idea, and then some are like, nah, this is a genius idea, and so far it has not paid off for anyone who's bought in post IPO. Obviously, if you're a banker, it's still great.
If you worked at SpaceX, I'm sure you're happy.
You're incredibly happy. They're all millionaires. There's jobs popping up for people who are just wealth managers for newly rich SpaceX people. They're like,
if you are a wealth manager in Hawthorne, California, you are missing a gold rush right now.
And that makes some people want to die. And so what would they do, Aiden?
I think with the amount of time we have left, we leave that one on the table. I figured I'd pivot to a smaller.
Okay.
Why don't you assist
thing.
in this episode dying?
There's a story on assisted dying in Quebec I did want to talk about, but I think it'd be a little longer.
Patreon bonus
that we have left. The thing I wanted to bring up was actually from last week's episode. I wanted to chat briefly about thank you for the people who weighed in and like gave feedback on the episode. I know it didn't like perform as well as a normal episode does, but to try something new and see a lot of people enjoy it was pretty cool. There was one piece of feedback, and keep in mind, I have no vested interest in Applied Intuition as a company beyond I like seeing my friend employed. I'm happy for him. And there was a lot of criticism of the company I saw that I think came from this place of when we talk about AI companies on the show, they're often in a place where they're not making money and they're reliant on selling a narrative about what their product is going to be in the future. And perhaps going to IPO and hopefully
Cash out a bit.
Find a source of funding or like reward the employees who have worked at these places for a long time through the IPO that they're doing. And that primarily by selling not only the technology, but the narrative of what that technology is going to be. And I think people are used to that framing when talking about AI companies. And I could see through a lot of the criticism and some short conversations I had with people in the wake of that episode that they thought the same thing about Applied Intuition. Like, this is a company that's gambling on some idea of the future. To an extent, it is. But I think what people didn't understand, and what I don't think we said in the episode, is this is a profitable company. This is a profitable business and has been for years. It is successfully selling the technology they're describing in the show now. They don't need to like, there's not this like, we're hoping this pans out and like starts making revenue for us. It's like, they've been doing it. And this was just showing off what they have been working on. And I realized when I gave that context to some people who were being really critical of the business because they didn't know that, it actually changed their opinion pretty substantially. Because I think they're so used to the idea of like AI grifter company trying to like sell us something that doesn't work. And I thought it was worth clarifying or putting that information out there, understanding that's not where like everybody's criticism was grounded. But I had enough positive conversations with people about that outside of the show that I thought it was worth bringing up.
Sure, cool.
Yeah, but if you guys have suggestions for how we can brush up that format or what we could explore or go check out in the future, I want to go see more stuff. So open to hearing your guys' feedback and how to deal with social media bans.
And ideally take all the nuance of that discussion about credit cards and distill it into an insult about Brandon.
And take it to his Twitch chat. Like,
if you could, don't just keep it in the comments. I want you to follow me around the rest of my life with credit card related discussion. That would be my ideal outcome of this episode.
This is one of the big things about social media. You got to get off the digital world, get into the physical world, ideally into your mansion.
If you're an Atrioc chatter and it's like you're dying for something to say this week, it's like you could talk about how he maybe didn't wake up for his match.
You could talk about that.
You could talk about that.
Talk about that.
Or you could talk about how he doesn't use credit cards.
These are two great options.
I have a quick question. Did you get messages to call him that morning? Did you call him too?
No.
Me and Ludwig were both getting messages from Atrioc fans to call him to get him to show up.
And that's our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate you. By the way, Aiden, sponsored by Applied Intuition, 100% has been shilling it for money.
And I'm sponsored by Mass Surveillance.
And loves Tucker Carlson. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
He's leaving the GOP behind.